With Microsoft celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Xbox, I figured I'd go through all the consoles and all of its history. First, starting with the original Xbox. The Xbox was unveiled at CES 2001 in Las Vegas on January 3rd, 2001. Bill Gates himself personally unveiled the project alongside Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which is probably one of the coolest unveils of a console that I've ever seen. It's also a weird one, because, why? Why did you do that? Didn't need to, but you did. I'm not mad about it. It's just strange. No major company has brought on celebrity guest stars to promote their project, but apparently Microsoft just decided to do it. This unveil was pretty memorable in my mind. From the day the Xbox was unveiled, Microsoft was fighting an uphill battle. They were a newcomer in the console business. People knew Microsoft, but they didn't know them for developing game consoles. So this was a weird and strange direction that they were taking. Nobody could put their trust in this console because they had no past with game console development. Nobody could confidently go, oh yeah, I'll buy this because they've done such and such. You could make the argument that they've kind of been doing this before, because there were PC games for PCs that they made, but this is a totally different beast. Microsoft also released their console a year after the PlayStation 2 launch. PlayStation 2 came out March 4th of 2000, so they had a few months start on Microsoft. Sony had the brand recognition at this point, and they also had a DVD player built inside their console. So, Sony had a massive head start. Even something like the GameCube, which was developed by Nintendo, the Nintendo, still couldn't catch up to Sony. Even with what seemed like an instant win for Sony, still had a little glimmer of hope for Xbox. It was because of a little indie game. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Halo. Halo was the big game that they were pushing with the Xbox when it was originally announced. And the good news was that people really seemed to like it. Xbox had plenty more exclusive titles that launched with the system as well, like Blinks, Amped, and Crimson Skies. This now at least gave people a reason to buy an Xbox, because there are a large portion of games that are released for both PlayStation and Xbox, and this console was no different. So releasing all these exclusive games with the launch of your new console, that was really smart on Microsoft's end. When product details finally came out for this console, there weren't as many features as people might have liked. Of course, people were comparing it to the PS2, and the PS2 had something that the Xbox did not have, which was the ability to play DVDs, and that was a big selling point of the PS2. So that was a loss on Microsoft's part. But now, if you have this console today, it doesn't really matter if the console can play DVDs or not, because DVDs are completely obsolete. But back then, DVD players were the hot commodity that you just had to have. And the PS2 had a DVD player built inside of it, along with the fact that it could play thousands of games. And it was the price of just a DVD player. The fact that the Xbox didn't have that was definitely a disadvantage for the time, but nowadays, it's not really a factor. Even with the fact that the Xbox did not have the ability to play DVDs, they still ran into a problem where the cost of manufacturing was higher than what they were selling for the console. So Xbox was just losing money. They either had to release some really good games, or they just had to scrap the project entirely. But thankfully, they kept going. In its second year on the market, Xbox had released Jet Set Radio Future and Sega GT 2002, which would soon become a bundle, Mech Assault, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Metal Gear Solid 2, Elder Scrolls 3, and Hitman 2. The fact that the most notable games were Xbox exclusives was definitely a big win for Xbox. 2002 also saw the release of one of the most iconic game services of all time, Xbox Live. This was Xbox's version of a service that would allow you to play online with friends. For 2002, this was a big step forward in innovation. They took something that had been an idea for the longest time, and then they finally made it a reality. With just a simple subscription, you could use the service. Subscriptions weren't a new thing, but to subscribe to something that was just digital and wasn't physically tangible was something completely different. Because of course back in the day you had the magazine subscriptions, but this was completely different because all your content that you'd be subscribing to was completely digital and wasn't really something that you could have. Yeah, sure, the PlayStation 2 had online play, but you had to have an adapter, and with that adapter, you had to have a cord that ran from the adapter to a computer. So, with the Xbox, they cut out the whole adapter thing and the computer. This was truly the easiest way to play online. Also in 2002, the Xbox had released some great games. Games like Project Gotham Racing, SSX 3, Rayman 3, Max Payne 2, and much more. Another pretty solid year for Xbox. Yet again, most of the games I mentioned were Xbox exclusives. Xbox was also really good at keeping the quality up for their exclusives as well. As if you could possibly not get any better than that, 2004 was an even better year for Xbox. That was because of Halo 2. You thought the hype for the last Halo game was insane. Well, Halo 2 hype was even more insane, and that really reflects in the sales of this game. The game sold 8.6 million copies as opposed to Halo 1's sales, which were 3 million copies. Halo 2 had a great campaign and really took advantage of the new Xbox Live service. Most of the critic reviews really took their time to praise the new Xbox Live service. And because of their new Xbox Live service, this game has really taken to new heights. Halo 2 was the first game to ever utilize the Xbox Live service on the original Xbox, and I think they did it the best. Other notable games were Fable, which really needs a sequel or a remake at this point. They really need to just bring this back. Red Dead Revolver, which was just Red Dead Redemption before they actually called it Red Dead Redemption. Burnout 3, the favorite among Burnout fans because of its many modes and its new mechanics. And the last game I want to mention, GTA San Andreas, which was one of the most expansive GTA games of the time. It also is, of course, one of people's favorite GTA games because it had so many fun mechanics and cheats and characters, and all these things together just made the most fun experience that you could have on the Xbox. Xbox in its final year really stepped on the gas. They didn't really slow down because the new console was just around the corner. They just kept releasing good game after good game after good game. They never slowed down until the Xbox's lifespan was over. Most of the time, companies don't want to just release all these amazing games the last year the console was on the market. Usually they'd wait until the next console would come out so they could take advantage of the newest hardware. But Xbox chose to keep up the quality all the way up until the very end. And that is something I find very commendable. I would say the Xbox's last year was its best. The last game ever released for this console was Madden 09, because of course it was. Every last game on a console always seems to be a Madden game, or like some shitty racing game. And with that, that was the end of the original Xbox. A very short time on the market, but a very impactful one. With a very short lifespan, I feel like they cut it out of the fluff and released just quality content the whole way through. I feel like this console doesn't get talked about enough, and that's a shame because I feel like it's the best console of the 6th generation. Before this video ends, I'd like to mention that I will be making more parts to this quote-unquote series. Since the 20th anniversary of Xbox got announced, I'm going to cover all of the Xbox consoles from the original Xbox all the way to the Xbox Series X. So please look out for more Xbox related videos. Anyway, that's it from me, and I will see you in the next one.